everybody, welcome back to our channel. My name is Naz.
And I'm Alba, and in this video we're gonna take you through how much money you need to live in London.
Now, this video is not about how much it costs on average to live in London. We want to tell you what's the absolute minimum it takes to be able to live in this big city. And the truth is that it really depends on who you are, your personal life circumstances. So in this video, we're going to break it down into three possible scenarios. One, you're a young adult, single, maybe a student, maybe you just got your graduate job. Two, you're a young couple. And three, you're a family. Let's assume maybe 2 kids. We're gonna have sections in this video where you can maybe just jump to the according section based on your personal circumstance. And we're gonna take you through how much it costs, as well as give you some tips to ensure that you can save as much money as possible.
If this is your first time watching, you might not know that we actually run a business called matuto.com where we help people move to London. And one of the questions that comes up the most is, can I live in London with this amount of money? Like Nas mentioned, it totally depends on your budget. So that's why we're gonna be talking about this today in this video. But before we do so, make sure to go check out matuto.com if you are moving to London, because you can sign up for free and get access to lots of great free resources.
And if you follow us on this channel, you might know that we've gone out to the streets of London to ask people how much money they need to live in London. And there was a lot of different responses. So in less than 60 seconds, let me show you the clips. How much money do you think a person needs to live in London?
It depends. If you're living by yourself, like I would say 30,000. But if a family, it should be more, otherwise you're going to struggle.
Now, quite a lot. Per month, I would say at least £5,000. It's very expensive to live in London.
Ideally, 1700 GBP per month is ideal to be sustained in the London.
I reckon at least 40 to 50,000, and that's minimum.
Like £60,000 a year would be good enough, I think, to be in London. Just a ballpark, like to lead a decent enough life, 60 to 75,000 pounds is good enough, I think.
On a single income, if you want to live reasonably comfortable, probably like 40 or 50k.
At least £2,000, like minimum, I would say.
I think more than £3,000.
As you can see, all the responses were really different, as the amount of money that you need to live in the city really does depend on your own circumstances. So we're gonna get right into the video so that you can see a more accurate representation of how much money you need to live in London.
Option number one, you're a young professional or student moving into London. Now, how much do you think it's gonna take you to survive here? So to do the calculations, we are actually using the London cost of living calculator, which we have available for free, even pre-sign up on Matuto. Let's say in this case, we are gonna be renting a room in a shared flat. I would say this because as a young adult, it is very, very common in London for this to be the case. Perhaps in your home country, it's not the case, and it can be a culture shock, but in London, it's super, super common for people to share a flat. Here we're gonna select only me. Even though there's more people in the household, you're only gonna be accountable for yourself. Yeah. And let's say you have to go to either work or university in central London 5 days a week. And let's say you live in up to zone 3. I think that's fairly realistic.
Yeah.
And here you can select what is it that you like to do. Perhaps you wanna go to the gym, and you don't go to a super fancy gym, I'm assuming. And you do want to go partying at least 2 to 3 times a month, because why not? You're young.
Let's add the coffee out 1 to 2 times per week to power you through your studies.
Yes. And so now we're going to calculate our expenses, and it's going to take us down to this number, 1,594. This is the rough ballpark.
Let's break it down. Your rent will come up to £935, and that's for a room in a shared house in the center of London in around zone 3. If you do go further outside, you might be able to find a cheaper room, but if you do want to live in zone 1 or 2, it's definitely going to be more expensive than that. Your house bills are going to come out to £150. Your groceries are going to come out at about £150 per month if you're shopping in a normal shop like Sainsbury's or Tesco's and you're cooking at home. They are not too expensive. You're gonna be spending on transport around £190 per month if you are commuting 5 days a week, and we have accounted for leisure £170 based on the activities that we have mentioned. So again, that will come up to a total of £1,594 per month.
As you can tell, this is a rough ballpark, but you can play around with the calculator to select what best applies to you.
Yeah.
Now, a top tip for money saving is make sure to rent in a shared flat. As we said, it's very common in London, but to give you an idea, if you were to rent a one-bedroom apartment, the average price right now is roughly £1,500.
Yeah.
So that's a difference of over £500 a month in renting a room versus renting an apartment by yourself. Option number 2. You are a young couple. Well, not necessarily young.
All we mean is you don't have kids.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
just two adults who are gonna live together in London.
Let's select a one bedroom because this is the most realistic option.
Yeah.
And let's say it's two of you living in the household, right? I'm assuming if you're a couple. How many days will you be going out to the center? Let's say 4 times a week, because one of the days maybe you work from home. And you will be commuting from zone, should we say up to zone 4?
Yeah.
Just to spice it up a little. You like dining out 2 to 3 times per month.
Yeah.
And you like, I don't know, you like going to museums and do cultural exhibitions, which for the most part are free in London. And you also want to get a gym subscription, because why not?
Stay fit.
Let's calculate our expenses.
As a couple, you will need more or less £2,731 per month to live in London. The biggest expense is going to be your rent, which comes out to £1,887 per month. This is an average. If you decide to live closer to the center, it's probably going to start at £2,000. If you decide to live further outside the center, you might be able to find it for slightly lower. Your house bills are gonna come up to around £220 that you need to add on top of rent.
And this would be for the household.
Yeah,
this would be
for the household in total. And your groceries, again, for the household, for the both of you, are probably gonna come up to around £300. This is if you shop in your normal groceries. You're not buying organic and you're not going to all the fancy stores, okay? You are gonna spend on transport about £184 per person if you are commuting 4 times a week. And your leisure based on the activities that we have selected would only be £140. But on top of that, you might want to account a little bit more for your shopping sprees or your extra dinner dates.
It is important to notice that in this calculator, for example, the rent and the bills and the groceries is like cumulative for the household, whereas the transport is for accounting for one person alone. But of course, you can play around with the calculator and adjust to your own criteria. And you can see here that maybe it will take the overall household to roughly £3,000-ish, which is 1,500 per person.
Yeah.
I would say that's roughly the minimum that you should look at as a couple to be able to live in London.
And a quick tip to save money as a couple: try cooking at home as much as you can. Obviously, everybody likes going out to dine every once in a while, but I think the mistake that most people do when they live in the city is not taking packed lunch to work and buying bread or eating like a takeaway meal during the week, because that adds up. In London, it's very expensive. You will not find a proper lunch for less than £10, whilst cooking at home might come out to what, like £5 for 2 people?
Yeah, so maybe £2.50 per person. Now, you can get, another tip is to get a Sainsbury's meal deal or a Tesco meal deal, but of course it's not the same as a homemade meal. And at the same time, it's slightly more expensive, maybe £3.50 for the meal deal, whereas if you cook at home, maybe you can bring it down to £2.50 or £2 per person.
And I don't think you can survive on Tesco meal deals forever. It will not fill you up, and I don't think it's that healthy.
Scenario number 3. You're a family, let's say, of 4 moving to London. What are your expenses gonna look like? You will probably be looking at a household of at least, should we say 2 bedrooms?
Yeah, 2
the
to
kids
3
are
bedrooms.
young.
Let's say they share a room.
Yeah. 3 bedrooms is naturally more expensive, as you can imagine. Let's say it's 4 people. They're young, but they're starting to eat a lot, just FYI. And let's say you go 5 days a week. This is for one person going to central London, and you're in zone 5, just to spice it up even more. You definitely have to get a gym subscription. I'm gonna assume this is a normal for everybody. You do like going for coffee once or twice a week, and guess what? You also like, should we say dining out? Because dining out, because why not?
Yeah.
You don't party because you're a family. Let's
This is you.
You may party. It's completely up to you. Let's calculate our expenses, and it comes up to slightly higher,
£3,735 per month. And you will need to add a few things to this, so let's break it down. Your biggest expense is of course going to be rent. Renting a 2-bedroom home in London is going to cost you about £2,340. On top of that, you will need to add your house bills, which are going to cost you around £350. And the groceries for the whole family is going to cost you about £600 per month. On top of that, you will need to add about £275 for one person to commute to London 5 days a week. If it's 2 of you commuting to London to the center 5 days a week, you will need to double that.
And you're probably wondering, why is the transportation higher than it was in the previous scenario? Well, the reason is because we selected up to zone 5. The further out you live, the more affordable your accommodation is going to be, but more expensive your transport is going to be as well, because the more zones you add up, the higher your bill.
But just to finish up the breakdown, your leisure, based on the activities that we selected here, will be about £170 for one person. If you want to do that as a couple, you might need to double that. I would say on top of this, you will definitely want to keep a budget in mind for your kids. I know a lot of parents in London like to do some extracurricular activities, which depending whether they are like state funded or they are private might cost you more or less, but you can add an extra of like £300 to £500 for kid extracurricular activities. So with that, it will take you from £3,735 per month to about £4,000 or over £4,000 per month for a family of 4 living in London.
A top tip for saving money in this scenario is to live further out. Now, I'm not saying further out of London, I'm saying literally outside of London. So, for example, we know a lot of people that live in Kent, which is a good example. It's just outside of London, but with the train connections of nowadays, you can get yourself to central London in 45 minutes, which is a very acceptable commute time for London. With the Elizabeth line as well being introduced last year, it is much easier for people to live either far east or far west of London to commute into the city.
This is particularly useful for families where maybe only one of the person in the couple needs to travel to the center of London and the rest of the family usually does their life outside of London, so the kids will go to school outside of London. A couple of places that you can look at are places like Milton Keynes, Kent, Essex, St. Albans. There's a lot of commutable towns that have trains that go into the center of London and that will definitely bring your rent down. In this scenario, we said your rent might be £2,300. If you live outside of London, that might go below the £2,000 for a 2-bedroom, so it's worth considering.
The calculator we used can be found on matuto.com. As Alba said, this is our baby, this is our startup, so we're really passionate about making sure that people have resources for free and available tools for free to be able to move to London. Of course, if you need further support, you can always reach out to us.
In the meantime though, that's going to be everything for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel because we've got lots of amazing videos coming up as always. Thank you so much for watching and I guess we'll see you
in our next video.